So I'm just going to jump right into it and say that I really didn't like this show. This show is absolutely garbage, which shouldn't be much of a surprise. Netflix is kind of known for making unwatchable shows that you hate watch, because it's fun to hate how much you like them. But that's not really the case for Blockbuster. This show had everything going for it to be good. It had a good creator, good writer, great actors, a pretty good plot surrounding the last blockbuster in the country, which is a very real thing that is going on right now. But despite all those things going for it, I still struggled to get through every single episode, and the only reason I did was for the opportunity to have some sweet juicy content and make this video right here. But I'm convinced that Netflix made this show bad and sabotaged what could have been a great show on purpose to kick Blockbuster while they're down, or let's be honest, just gone. Because if you don't know, Blockbuster had the opportunity to buy Netflix back in 2000 for $50 million, and it is said that the CEO of Blockbuster basically laughed Netflix out of the room, saying, I don't want your shitty mail-in DVD platform, which if you don't know, or you're not old enough to remember, Netflix just used to mail you DVDs. But now, with the situation we're in, with Blockbuster gone and Netflix the king of streaming, I think that Netflix made this crap just as an insult to Blockbuster, which I am here for the pettiness. That is hilarious. But I am a bit bummed because I was looking forward to this show. It looked solid. So Blockbuster is a workplace comedy created by Vanessa Ramos, a person that I will get into much more later on, that stars Randall Park as Timmy, the owner of the last Blockbuster on Earth. And it starts out in the beginning from him finding out that he is the last Blockbuster out there. And it is the struggles of him trying to stay relevant in the modern age of streaming services and keeping this place open and running while supporting his team and the employees that work there. In theory, it is a very, very solid synopsis and elevator pitch of a show. And it has every reason to be good. I love workplace comedies, and everybody in the world loves workplace comedies. One of the most popular shows is The Office, which has stayed relevant for years and years. And some people just had Netflix for The Office, and I'm pretty convinced that the only reason Peacock is still a thing is because people had to get it to watch The Office. My all-time favorite show is Parks and Rec, and Michael Schur is the king of these things. He worked on The Office, created Parks and Rec, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and The Good Place. He's basically the king of workplace comedy. And there's other shows out there I don't really watch, like Superstore, but Vanessa Ramos was a writer on Superstore and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. She has the repertoire and the experience with these things to make a solid workplace comedy, and she is the creator of Blockbuster, so it stands to reason that she would be able to. And then you have Randall Park leading this, who is very, very experienced in sitcoms, doing Fresh Off the Boat as one of the leading men for years and years, and just being a pretty experienced actor with things like Always Be My Maybe, which is one of my favorite rom-coms if you haven't seen it, The Interview, and the MCU.
James E. Woo, FBI.
And then you have Melissa Fumero coming off of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, who has previously worked with Vanessa Ramos and is one of the best parts, if not the best part of that show.
This bee needs a C in her A.
Oh my God.
This babe needs a coconut in her arms.
Oh, I thought you were saying this needs a
Oh my God!
And a pretty solid lineup of supporting actors, one of the standouts being J.B. Smoove, who is really kind of the only saving grace of this show, and I hate to say that, being such a fan of Randall Park. I mean, if you haven't seen his rapping is really, really good, and he has music and Always Be My Maybe that I'm a huge fan of. Kind of like an off-subject thing, but I wanted to mention it. I couldn't talk about Randall Park as leading a show without mentioning his music background that I love.
The baddest on the microphone apparatus is here. When I rock a rhyme, often eyes are dropping a tear. It's so beautiful, it's America's landscapes when this man makes lyrics like the syrups that you pour upon your pancakes.
But the problem with this show is that it has all these great characters and great actors, but none of them feel real. Now, when you think of a workplace comedy, when you think of like Parks and Rec or Brooklyn Nine-Nine, you think, oh, maybe they work because that's an interesting job. They work in government, or they are police force in New York. But that's not always the case. That doesn't have to be an interesting job. You take Superstore or The Office, they're working in basically Walmart and like a boring paper company, but the characters are interesting, and that's what keeps the show interesting. So it doesn't matter that these people are working in a movie rental store. If the characters are solid, the show can be solid. The plot line and the stories within it are good, and I care about what's happening to them. It will be good. But none of these characters seem real. They all just seem like caricatures of joke characters. Like 2 levels deep into not being real, if that makes any sense. I never buy into any of their problems because they aren't real problems. It's funny things that a writer's room pitches and didn't get a second pass over, and making it actually seem like something that would actually be difficult for a person. But then when you do get difficult things, like Melissa Fumero's character struggling with divorce and her husband cheating on her and having an estranged daughter that doesn't want anything to do with her anymore, it just kind of comes out of left field. And because nothing else worked with these characters, that, which could have been really solid and moving, does not hit you in an impactful way. In fact, it just kind of feels weird and out of place into this show that is throwing a joke and a reference at you every 10 seconds trying to get you to laugh, and more often than not you're just rolling your eyes. Like, legitimately, there is like a pop culture reference every 10 seconds in this, and none of them ever hit. Not only are there old ass pop culture references, but I was rolling my eyes just being like, Jesus Christ, can you just shut up? Never once was I like,
your references are out of control, everyone knows that.
But honestly, this show should have been very good. I've said it before, but it should have been great. With the creator behind it being of a background that it makes sense for them to be able to make this show work, with the actors being very, very solid, with the plot itself being an intriguing plot line of the last movie rental store, something that nowadays almost seems retro to people. The fact that it failed, and the fact that the writing in this seems more lazy than anything.
Saddest thing I've ever said is 1 ticket for Space Jam 2.
And the fact that this show went out basically under the radar and Netflix didn't even push it. I remember seeing a trailer for this months ago, and then it just fell out of my head and I forgot that it was an actual show. Until one day I was just on Netflix and I saw it in my suggestions. I was like, oh yeah, maybe I'll give that a shot. Really, the only saving grace of this show was JB Smoove. And at first he was kind of annoying, but as the show went on, maybe it's just because nothing else in this show was funny, so it made him seem funny in comparison. But his relationship with his daughter seemed like the only real aspect of this show. The problems that he was having wanting to stay connected with his daughter, and him being kind of like a man-child, was actually interesting. And I was invested in his life and their relationship. And when he cracked jokes, I actually found them funny. And he actually wasn't even in every single episode. Maybe that's because this show didn't have a high enough budget, and they couldn't afford JB Smoove, kind of a bigger actor, for all of this. And to wrap all this up, the ending is so unsatisfactory and lazy as hell when it comes to writing. The ending is literally contingent on a global catastrophe of a solar flare coming out and knocking out internet access so that the movie rental shop doesn't close and they make some money, because streaming services are down, so everybody has to bum rush to the store in order to rent some DVDs. And to me, that's just lazy writing. You couldn't find a way to make these characters actually solve their problem and achieve their goal using their own intelligence. You had to be like, give them an act of God, give them a fluke, freak of nature occurrence in order to solve their issue. And to me, that just really, really paints bad writing. That the thing you can only think of to solve their issue rather than having them do it is a solar flare. Like, what the fuck? It kind of reminds me of like a 911 Lone Star, where in the season finale of season 1, you get people from the International Space Station calling in because, again, I think a solar flare. Like, what the fuck? How does that make any sense in this sitcom about Blockbuster? Anyway, I legitimately do hope that this show improves and becomes better over time, because I like the plot. And I love Randall Park. Melissa Fumero deserves to be in another great show because she is a standout in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And the creator has worked on a lot of great shows, and it seems like she deserves to have her own show that is a win. I hope Netflix doesn't dump this like they do so many TV shows. And if they were trying to kick this while Blockbuster was down and be like, haha, smack him in the face or whatever, great. You did it for one season. Now let's Let's get this thing rolling, get some better writers in the room, do some second passes to make sure that you don't have an act of God being the problem solver in the finale, and actually give these actors something to work with, because they're great actors. But let me know what you think. If you like this show, I honestly want to hear why. I would be open-minded, but just keep in mind that you're wrong. But thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, check out my other videos.